What's up, guys? Max Finn here. Now, if you watch my content for a while now, you know that while I am an optimistic guy, I'm very entrepreneurial. I love starting businesses. I'm so confident in the future. I've also been taking some steps and taking some actions to prepare what I think is going to be a tough 2023 and a tough 2024. Just looking at the kind of economic and geopolitical landscape, right? Looking at the news, it's been rough for a little bit, right? We still have high inflation. Interest rates still continue to go up. They probably go up a little more. We have just a lot of issues happening. We have political division, we have war, we have supply chain issues still. We have a lot of negative things, a lot of macro headwinds that are coming against us. And so I've been talking a lot about that lately. And, I've been trying to put the most positive spin on it and talk about, hey, these are opportunities. Whenever there's a lot of uncertainty, whenever there's a lot of people that are fearful, as Warren Buffett talks about, be greedy when they're fearful, be fearful when they're greedy. So there's always opportunity. And I still wholeheartedly believe that. That being said, I saw this report from Edelman. They've been doing this report for, 23 years now. So they've been doing this report for 23 years, where basically they do this massive survey where they look at 28 countries, over 32,000 respondents, and they ask a lot of questions, a lot of kind of big macro questions about how people feel about the economy, about politics, about social issues, and they compile it into this really amazing report. And I'll drop the link to the report, it's a free report, in the show notes below. But what I want to do is kind of go through some of the metrics on here that stood out to me the most and that frankly were the most alarming. Again, it's no secret that I've been a little more kind of on edge and a little more fearful lately, specifically what's going to happen. I've been talking a lot about kind of the coming recession and all the challenges, but even some of these stats, frankly, were shocking to me. Even some of these figures were surprising, and I went into it expecting to be surprised. So I wanted to kind of walk through this and kind of just talk about some of these findings. And I love, as you're hearing these, as you're watching the video, share your thoughts below. Do you think that these numbers are reflective of what you're seeing? Are you more optimistic, less optimistic, all that good stuff? So, and then as always, hit that little bell, hit that little red button, subscribe so you get all my future videos. All right, back to the report. So here we are. Edelman Trust report, again, 28 countries, 32,000 respondents, over, around 1,200 respondents per country. And look at, most of the big countries throughout the world. And so, again, this is where we're going to start. Talk about a few slides here. Really, they fall into two buckets. One is economic and one is kind of political and social. All right. And both are very important and both are somewhat terrifying. So the first one is economic optimism. And again, I never expected that people would be optimistic about the next year or two. I figured, most people going into this expect we're going to enter a recession. The kind of the White House and the news has been talking about soft landing, soft landing, soft landing. And I thought like maybe a lot of people would kind of believe that, right? Because I don't believe that. I haven't believed anything they've been saying. Transitory inflation was a lie, all this stuff. No recession happening was a lie. So I've been skeptical. But what's interesting is how many people kind of are in the same camp. They are skeptical of what's being told to us and don't believe that we're going to just hit a soft landing and everything's going to be fine. So this is down 10 points just in a year. And basically the question was, do you think your family is going to be better off in 5 years economically, financially, kind of your financial future, your economic future? And the global average is just 40%, which is really, really crazy. So again, thinking about this as a global thing, right? Obviously the US, I'll highlight the US specifically in these ones. The US is right, where are we? There we are. So 36. So it's under the average. So 40% of respondents said they think they will be better off in 5 years. Now, flip side, that means that 60% think they'll be worse off, right? Not just next year, but 5 years from now. Think about that. In 5 years, over 60% of people in the world think they'll be worse off than they are today. That's really, really scary. And specifically in the US, 36. So again, 64% of Americans think in 5 years they'll be worse off. That is a terrifying number, that a majority of people, a big majority of people, are that fearful and have that lack of confidence in their financial future. That's going to impact their buying decisions, their investing decisions. That's going to impact the way people act today if they're that scared of what their future looks like. Not just in 1 year or 2 years, but in 5 years, right? Because usually people are like, hey, I think recession's coming. I think it's going to be bad. Next year, 2 years might be a bad year for me. But usually 5 years out, 10 years out, most people are like, I'm going to be better off in 5 years. I'm going to be better off in 10 years, right? It's a big gap of time for me to progress in my career, to build more wealth, to invest in more things, even if you're kind of, not on the top income sphere. But no, that's a pretty shocking stat there. Two of kind of the biggest personal fears, job loss and inflation, not surprising there for me personally. But again, looking at what the media keeps telling us and what the government keeps telling us, they keep highlighting how jobs are strong, wages are strong, jobs are strong, right? So they've been ignoring every other blinking red bad indicator, and they keep pointing out the labor market as the single point of truth that this means everything's going well. Now, if we look at this, 89% of people worry about job loss, right? That's a huge number. That's almost everybody. Almost everybody in the world is concerned about losing their job. So again, I think a lot of this hasn't caught up to the labor market yet. We've seen massive layoffs in tech, in kind of higher skilled, higher education job markets. I think that's going to trickle down over the next year or two into other markets. Same with inflation. Again, if people are this fearful of inflation still, they're going to stop. They're going to continue to spend less and less and less. They're going to continue to act in a fearful manner. Okay, this is interesting too. So the only trusted institution was businesses, which again, I thought that was very interesting, over NGOs, government, and media. Media just gets obliterated. Throughout this entire report, media and journalism just gets hammered. This is a direct slap in the face of mainstream media, this report, across the world, not just in America, across the world. People do not trust the journalists, they do not trust the media, and they also don't trust the government. That's always been expected, but the media one's the big one. So again, government far less trusted than business. Again, no surprise there. Government and media fuel cycle of distrust. So again, only 42% of people around the world view the media as a reliable source of information, and 39% view government. More people view business and NGOs as positive source of information. Institutional leaders distrusted. So again, the two biggest groups of distrust: government leaders, journalists. So just 41% of people trust government leaders, just 47% trust journalists, 48% of CEOs. Like, that's impressive. Like, the fact that CEOs, which people hate, the rich and the wealthy, are trusted more than journalists and trusted more than government leaders is a big thing. What I also find interesting is CEOs as a general abstract term, distrust. My CEO is trusted. It's like the weird cognitive dissonance, this game that people play where it's like, because it's my CEO, they're good, but all these other CEOs are bad. It's interesting. They're on my paycheck, so they're good. This person over here, not so good. Again, income inequality has been a big one. Not a surprise there. Trust at home doesn't guarantee a trust abroad. This is where it gets really scary. This is probably, I'm more concerned personally about these next few slides than I am about the economic optimism or anything else in this report. Mainly because I think, and again, this is just me speaking here, just me thinking out loud. These types of numbers I'm going to show to you, I don't see, unless something radical changes, I don't see a off ramp here. I don't see a point where like we can just continue operating as is with these numbers I'm about to talk about without something, again, radical happening. And that scares me, right? The level of distrust and divide in our country and in countries around the world is at a level that's never been seen before, right? There's such a lack of similarities and commonalities that we share together. And it's hard to operate as citizens of our country, citizens of the world together if we just don't agree on anything. And I think there's a lot of bad things that can come from that. We need to fix that really, really fast. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. So again, here's some of the biggest kind of levers of distrust or of polarization. So distrust in government, lack of shared identity, systemic unfairness, economic pessimism, societal fears, distrust in media. Again, media keeps showing up here, keeps showing up everywhere, right? Government media. If that doesn't tell you there's a problem with government media, I don't know what does. Because again, this isn't just Republicans or just Democrats. This is or Americans. This is across the world. People are answering these survey questions. And again, if people keep saying government's a problem, media's a problem, maybe these people should look at themselves and say, maybe we are the problem. Maybe we should change. So let's look at political division here, Republicans, Democrats. This isn't surprising either. And this also flip-flops, right? So basically, if you look at this, like usually when Republicans are in office, these numbers kind of flipped. And when Democrats are in office, these numbers are the way they are, right? So it's usually whoever's in power kind of trusts everything more. Whoever's not in power trusts everything less. So these numbers flip-flop. But right now, so my country's polarized. 50% Republicans say that, 33% Democrats. Just 26% of Republicans trust the government, 25% trust media, 23% will be better off in 5 years. So that's a really sad number right there. So again, that's what 77. So 77% of Republicans think they'll be worse off in 5 years. That's a bad number. And then Democrats, even with Democrats, it's not a majority. So even Democrats, it's 52% of Democrats think they'll be worse off, even though they control the government right now, even though they control a lot of institutions, 52% think they'll be worse off in 5 years. You'd think that if you were so confident in a lot of these, spending bills and all this stuff, that you'd be more optimistic about your economic future. But again, even the majority is not there. And then also the trust in government, trust in media, not surprising there. 61% trust government because they control the government. No surprise there. And like I said, that happens. Flip-flops Republicans. So if Republicans are in office, they probably have the same flip-flop there on the metrics. The media, again, not surprising there. We all know it's not a surprise, not a shocker that most of mainstream media, with the exception of Fox and a few other entities, media entities, lean left. So of course they're going to trust the media more there. Okay, so cause and consequences, polarization leads to further distrust. More divided today than in the past. So this is, again, another scary number, 53%. And this is, again, globally, not just America. 53% say their country's more divided today than in the past. This is something I haven't really been aware of because we get so hyper-focused on the U.S. and our country. We don't think really about other countries. And sometimes I think we believe that we're this weird anomaly where we're fracturing as a country and we're getting polarized as a country. It's not happening anywhere else. This shows it is happening basically everywhere else, right? Netherlands, it was 80%. Brazil, no surprise there, 78%. Sweden, 73%. France, 70%. Nigeria, 67%. US, 67%. Germany, UK, Argentina, South Korea, South Africa, Canada, Italy, Spain, Colombia. All those countries, more than 50% of people think that their country is more divided today than in the past. So that's not a good number. It's not a good sign there. When you have this diverse set of countries from Europe to South America to North America to Asia having distrust in their governments and their country. Divisive forces exploiting and intensifying our differences. Again, this is just like, who do we think is responsible? Rich and powerful. 62% viewed them as a dividing force. Only 20% was a unifying force. Hostile foreign government, 61%. Government leaders, 49%. Journalists, 43%. Business leaders, 32%, 41%. This one I thought was interesting, actually, because to me, and again, this is just reading to it, I view these two buckets, like business leaders and rich and powerful, as very similar people, right? Typically, like business leaders are rich and powerful, but it's this weird thing where I think a lot of people view this. I view like this bucket. I imagine they're thinking about like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. They're putting like them in the rich and powerful, and so again, interesting that there's such a level. They view those people as so divisive, but business leaders as more unifying than divisive. That was interesting to me, that stat there. And that this again was pretty crazy to me, that people view the rich and powerful as a stronger dividing force that pulls people apart than hostile foreign governments. That's pretty shocking and pretty surprising that somebody could sit there and say, like, I think Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is a more powerful dividing force than a Putin or a Kim Jong-un or somebody that's running a hostile foreign government, that's actually declaring war against people, that's actually like doing acts of violence against people. Like pretty wild to me, that mental gymnastics there, but it is what it is. Okay, these are the last two I'm going to share, and then we'll wrap it, because I saved the best, if I want to call it that, but really the worst for last. This is where I think like I was blown away seeing these stats. And frankly, I don't know how we come back from this, and I don't want to be this super doom and gloom here. I think we have hope. There's still optimism. I'm still a glass half full guy, but it's going to take a lot to overcome these stats. So social fabric weakens. 65% of people said the lack of civility and mutual respect today is worse than they've ever seen before. 65%. That's crazy. 62% say the social fabric that once held the country together has grown so weak, it's grown too weak to serve as a foundation for unity and common purpose. So just to kind of reword that a little bit and just talk through that. That's over 60% of people in the world, not just America, think that the differences that they have with other groups, other political parties, other social issues, other religions, whatever it might be, in their country, has spread so far away from each other, and they're so divided that there's no longer enough binding them to basically unite them as citizens of the same country, have the same purpose. That's basically what the Civil War was about. Basically, the Civil War in America and other civil wars that have happened in history is like, hey, we live in the same country, but we have nothing in common. And in fact, because we have such different views and everything, we don't want to exist in the same country as you. We're going to go to actual war to prove that. That's what the Civil War is about, right? We believe this in this horrible thing, the South. We believe in slavery. The North's like, we don't believe in slavery. We think it's cruel and inhumane and terrible. Okay, there's no reconciling this. We're going to go to war over it. That's kind of what this talks about. Now, again, not talking about slavery, but other issues that are big enough that people are willing to say, hey, there's nothing that unites us. I don't want to be in the same country as this person, basically. That's a scary stat. And then this is the last stat, and this is the scariest one, I think, of all. This is how bad political division has gone in our country and in our planet. This is a question. If a person strongly disagreed with me on my point of view, I would help them if they were in need. So let's play this out. There is somebody, it's not who I am. I'm just saying this for the sake of this game. Okay. I am a hardcore conservative, and I'm walking down the street and I see a guy over that fell off his bike and is bleeding from his knee and hurt. And I somehow find out that he is a very far left, hyper progressive person that's all for the squad and voted for Bernie Sanders, yada, yada, yada. Only 70% of people would just walk by that person. Think about that. 70% of people, if that person was in need, but had a different viewpoint than them, they strongly disagreed, they would just let them stay there on the ground. If they were starving on the sidewalk, they wouldn't help them. If they, out of gas and they needed help getting gas, like any of these things, because you disagree with them politically or socially or religiously, whatever it might be, you're unwilling to even help them. Just 30% of people said that. 20% said they would be willing to live in the same neighborhood. Okay, so again, just talking this out. I'm looking to move into a neighborhood that has hundreds or more homes. I am a far right conservative. I find out that there's a person around the corner that has a Bernie Sanders sign on their yard. Even though I love this house, even though I think it's the perfect house for my kids to grow up in, I'm not going to move into this house because I don't want to be in the same neighborhood as this person. 80% of people would make that decision, which I'm not going to move in there because of that. And then finally, only 20% would be willing to have them as a coworker. So again, playing this out. I land my dream job. I've been working my entire career to get this C-suite exec VP position at Meta or at Alphabet or at Tesla or whatever the company is. But I find out that most of my employees there are voted for Biden and hate Trump and don't like Republicans at all. I wouldn't be willing to work there and get the career of my dreams and get this massive job opportunity because some people I work with have different opinions than me. These three stats right here are horrible, horrible, horrible stats and are basically the prime example of everything that is wrong right now in our country and on our planet. And I personally don't know how to fix it. I don't know how you mend that, how you close that divide. When you have 80% of people unwilling to live in the same neighborhood as somebody with different views than them, not even just like, this isn't saying like live in the same apartment as somebody or be roommates with somebody. This isn't even saying live next door to somebody. This is saying being in the same neighborhood. You might never even see this person. And if you did, you might never talk to them. You could walk by with a dog. These are just shocking. To help them if they were in need one was really surprising that like you are willing to be so attached to your ideas that you're unwilling to view the other person as just a human being. And that's where we're at, I think, right now as a society is that we are unwilling to look at people who disagree with us politically or socially as equal human beings. That if you differ from me politically or socially or religiously, whatever that viewpoint is, that not only can we not talk about it, not only am I not willing to have a debate about it, not only am I not willing to even hear your side of why you believe that, but I'm unwilling to help you if you're in danger. I'm willing to live in the same neighborhood as you. I'm not willing to work at the same company as you, even if we don't live next to each other or work next to each other or have any interaction. If you are just in the vicinity of me, I don't want to be in that vicinity. And I think that is childish. It shows such a lack of IQ, of emotional intelligence. It's embarrassing. That's what I'm gonna say. It's whoever said these things, whoever like said like, yes, I will not help them, or no, I will not live in the same neighborhood as them, or no, I will not be a coworker with them. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing on both sides. Whoever, if you're watching this, that's you and you believe that, like, we need to grow up. We need to get better. We need to be better as people, as human beings. At the end of the day, we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to like the same things. We don't have to follow the exact same drumbeat and the exact same path and vote for the exact same people to be respectful to each other. Again, we don't have to even be friends. We don't have to be friends, best friends. We don't have to hang out, but just have a mutual human level respect for other human beings. That's the bare minimum of being a human on this planet. So anyway, that's my rant for the evening. But I had to shoot this video because again, I was reading through this and I was like, I had to share this. I had to talk about these findings and put it out there and just hear what people think. Like, cause I really want to hear in the comments below, like go through the report, down the link, look through these stats. And I want to hear, are you as bothered by this? Are you as terrified? Does this shock you as much as it shocked me, or am I overreacting by it? Maybe this is a nothing burger. Maybe this really isn't that big of a deal. To me, I think it's a huge deal. And I think unless we address it really, really soon, unless we start bringing people back together, unless we start getting people optimistic again, unless we start taking some like really massive changes to our foundations, to our institutions right now, it is going to be a very, very different and scary world in a few years. And I don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone else has happened. So I think we need to take action today. And I don't know what the action looks like, but I think the very first thing we can do is respect other people and be okay with having different views on other people. I think that's a start. So as always, guys, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.